Good morning. Today is Sunday, June 11th, 2023. This is such an emotional morning for me. First, I just want to express my gratitude to Claire for the idea and to be able, after over 3 years, to be able to be in person with all of you and to be able to be connected with you on Zoom. It is a miracle, and it is a fantastic thing. The amount of Torah that we have been able to share over 3.5 years is quite incredible, and with God's help, shows no signs of abating. On the contrary, of growing, and I look forward to that. And it's all because of you. I have the privilege to be able to do more Torah learning and Torah teaching than I have ever done in my life. And it is due to you. So I'm grateful. And also, I've mentioned this before, the experience of teaching or learning on Zoom is qualitatively different than being in person. It is miraculous. What Zoom has done, from my point of view, has saved many, many people. I mean that without any exaggeration, and continues to do so. And the ability that we have now, that even as some of us are together, to still be connected to people, maybe in different cities, or maybe just in their pajamas, who find it more comfortable to join on Zoom. This is very, very important, and it's my hope that we'll be able to keep up both for the long term, as long as we can. Amen. Okay. This week's Torah portion, the Parsha Shlach, tells the story of the Meraglim, the spies that Moshe sent. And as we know from this Torah portion, this narrative changes the course of Jewish history. The Jewish people had been on the precipice, about to enter the land of Israel. And because the spies came back with a negative report, and the Jewish people became hysterical over that negative report, instead of going directly into Israel, they were required to wander for 40 years in the desert, and the entire generation was deemed not worthy, not deserving to enter the land of Israel. Only the next generation entered Israel. How could it have happened? How did it fall apart so drastically that the entire generation was unable to enter and 40 years had to pass? So let's start with the choosing of these 12 men that would be the Meraglim. Who would go on this journey? So the Torah tells us at the beginning of our Parsha, Ish echad l'matei avosav. One person from each tribe, Kol Nessiim bohem, each one of them a Nessiim, a prince, a leader, a great person. 12 names. Of the 12 names that are mentioned, none of them have been mentioned anywhere in the Torah up until this point except for Yehoshua. So 11 of the 12 we've never heard of before. Okay, afterwards, we're going to become very familiar with one more whose name is Kalev, but again, up until this point, his name is not mentioned. So we are meeting one person that we know, Yehoshua, but 11 strangers, 11 people that we do not know. And they're the ones that Moshe chose for this mission to go spy out the land and bring back a report. Hold on a minute. Last week, in the end of Parshas Naso, we had a long, long section of the Parsha that listed 12 Nessiim, the 12 princes of the tribes, the prince of each tribe. And we mentioned the gifts each one of them brought to dedicate the Mishkan, the sanctuary. Why didn't Moshe send them? They were the heads of each tribe. And, okay, they were pretty great people. They brought all these gifts. Why did Moshe not send them and choose instead this other group that we know nothing about? What qualification did these 12 have that the ones we know about did not have? Now, I can imagine a very simple answer to this question, and that could be that the Nessiim of last week's Torah portion, the heads of each tribe, they were the elder statesmen. This job required a little bit of youth. You had to climb mountains, you had to cross rivers. It required some younger guys, maybe. And so these people were not the heads of the tribe. They were respected in their tribe, but they had the physical endurance, ability to be able to do this job, which is different than being the leader of the tribe in place. All right, that's possible. I have not seen any suggestion about that in any of the commentaries that I've seen. But I do want to share with you an approach. It is not indicated clearly within the text, but it carries for us a lesson that is so important. I would say that this lesson is more important today than any other time in the past. And the lesson comes from Rabbi Dov Zev Weinberger, who was a rabbi and a scholar. He lived in Borough Park in Brooklyn. He passed away in 2018, and he wrote a wonderful work on Chumash called Shemen HaTov. Shemen HaTov. I've quoted it to you before, and this is one of his insights. I mentioned before, when we talked about the 12 princes in the Parsha of Naso, that each of the 12 princes brought exactly the same list of gifts in every detail. And I mentioned to you the opinion, quoted by Chofetz Chaim, that they did that on purpose. They coordinated their gifts in advance so there would be no competition between them, so that the people of each tribe would know that they were equal to every other group of people and every other tribe. It didn't matter how big the tribe was or how small the tribe, from which part of the family, what role they had to play. Everyone is equal. Everyone is equally important to God. And the gift that is brought to represent the tribe before God to the Mishkan is exactly the same. And that's an amazing thing. We talked about that. A group working with consensus, a group who all agrees to a plan, especially when the plan is designed to promote harmony, to reduce divisiveness, and all the people would see that their leaders are acting like this and acting in coordination with each other, and it would have an amazing effect on the social fabric of the entire Jewish people. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. Unless you're trying to make a difficult decision and you need advice. When you need to make a difficult decision and you need advice, then a consensus group is catastrophic. Because then you need diversity of opinion. You can't just have a group of people around you who all say the same thing. That's a disaster. You have to have a group who every single one feels they have the permission and will be respected for giving their honest opinion, even if it's unpopular, even if it disagrees, so that every view is raised and every approach is examined. And then, after hearing all the opinions, a leader can make an informed decision. Albert Einstein once said, we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. You got a problem. So you're just going to rely on the same people that are just going to tell you the same thing as what got you into the problem? It's hopeless. A problem must be solved. An important decision must be reached with everyone's best thinking, new thinking, not a groupthink echo chamber where everyone is just listening to those they know will agree with them in advance. And we see today in so many areas, we see today and we have learned how disastrous it is when powerful leaders surround themselves with sycophants and won't tolerate anyone with a different opinion. It's a disaster. Thomas Jefferson, at his first inaugural address, this is the very beginning of the history of the United States of America, he said as follows: "If there be any among us who wish to dissolve this union or to change its republican form, let them stand undisturbed as monuments of the safety with which error of opinion may be tolerated where reason is left free to combat it." There must be the opportunity for error of opinion so that it can be subjected to reason, which is then free to combat it. The only way a leader can help assure that the leader is deciding correctly is if the leader listens to criticism, considers all other views. Moshe chose 12 men, not the Nessiim, not the princes from the Parsha of Nassau, who worked with consensus. Moshe did not want a group that worked with consensus. For that purpose, they were great, but for this purpose, they would be disastrous. Rather, Moshe chose 12 individuals, respected, one from each tribe. The Torah says, Kulam Anoshim, each one of them an important figure. Each one of them a leader with their own unique perspective, specifically to avoid this problem. But Rabbi Weinberger suggests the first thing this group did, not having heard or heeded Moshe's motive, the first thing this group did before they started on their mission, they had a meeting. And they decided that they would bring back a consensus report. And they decided in advance that the consensus report that they would bring back would be negative. Except for Yehoshua and Kalev, who thought and hoped, but they were ultimately unable to sway the people with the truth because the group was too strong. The group think was too strong. The consensus was too strong and did not allow for any other possibility. And catastrophe happened. The lesson we need to learn is more important today than ever, as this problem causes more and more damage and harm. For every one of us in our lives, wherever we are, whatever is going on, allow and respect differences of opinion. Read and listen to different voices. Not only those that you are used to, not only the ones in your echo chamber. Don't be afraid to have someone disagree with you. Don't get defensive. Consider it. You may still decide that you are right, but at least then you will have considered the alternative. And the decision that you reach will be richer and more valid because of it. Eugene Borowitz was an important Jewish leader a number of years ago, and he wrote, "Criticism is the lifeblood of modern thought. We need public criticism if only that honest people will feel more at home among us." And it would have saved a lot of pain and a lot of suffering if that kind of openness to different views had been present among these 12 men. My friends, I wish you a great day. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you on Zoom. I'm so glad that you're here, and we're going to continue on Zoom. And thank you so much to all of you who are here in person. It is such a great pleasure to get together. We will look for ways to be able to repeat this on some kind of basis, I hope, with your participation and help. But in any event, have a great day. And I look forward to seeing you all soon in person.